every situation is different. These are just my thoughts. My general thoughts are they're older. With that, a lot of the times, well, everything I've ever seen, old iron is better. You get more mass, more rigidity, there's generally more to it. I mean, the bed, you know, it's a big heavy casting. Just this top, the actual lathe itself weighs about more than some of the mini lathes I've picked up. You've then got your bearings, the quality of the casting, the weighs, basically the general components generally tend to be of older material, which was generally better quality. It was machined better, and there are downsides to this, which I'm not going to discuss now. That'll be a separate thing. You've got better quality bearings in the heads, because Chinese lathes of this size, the equivalent lathe, the bearings are always problems, the motors are always problems, the weighs on the bed, they're not always as accurate. The cost, this here cost me £100. I've got a whole load of tooling for it, which I shall put in a shot of now. So the tooling that came with this is a big draw to buy a second-hand lathe. If you hold out for the right deal, you will get the extras thrown in. Someone went out of their way to buy them and you've got them thrown in. If you bought a new lathe, you would be paying extra to get the tooling to go with it. There's a whole set of collets. These are all Lorch branded collets. As you can see, just there, Lorch. There's the coned step collets, external, internal. There's the whole set that would have gone with the lathe is in that box. There's the drawbars. There's the indexer. This obviously mounts to the bed, so you can index your collet, your part, if you're holding it in the collet, mill and cutter in the headstock. There's extra jaws. And under here, if I can get to it, there's drive plates, face plates. There's 3 under there. There's face plates for, I believe that one's probably for wood bowl turning, because it's got the wood turning attachments. There is all of that with it. It also came with a whole load of high-speed steel cutters, which every time I buy a second-hand lathe, I just keep them. I've got drawers full, and every now and again I'll put a load together, bosh them on eBay, and you get 25-30 quid for 15-20 cutters, and yeah, it's quite handy. So in my mind, this is the reasons I've always been swayed to go older. You cannot get a brand new lathe with all of the tooling for that cost. You just can't. You'd be lucky to get just the lathe for 500-600 quid, and then you're at the bottom end of the scale and it's not even worth having it. They tend to have more capacity between centres, although some of the modern mini lathes, the newer ones, have a larger diameter through the bore, so you can fit larger diameters through it. Now that is an upside to them, but as a general rule, between centres you tend to get more because it isn't a mini lathe, it's just a small lathe. They're more forgiving. Obviously this is a belt drive. You crash it, you wind a tool into the chuck, the belt's going to slip. You've got a lot less problematic parts. So on something like this, so like a Myford as well, you've got your V-belts, which they grip a lot more, but they are still forgiving. Whereas something with a gear head is not. You'll strip teeth somewhere. Now obviously if you're set up for screw cutting and it's engaged, there's gears in line that are going to strip if you crash it. You can't avoid that, but to learn on, all of that stuff disengaged, these are more forgiving. Obviously you can set your belt tension higher, which will not slip as much, but that, you know, they are more forgiving. Something like this is not such a good example of what I'm about to say, but something like a Myford, which is the higher end of the hobby lathes, I would say. So a Lorch is a really good precision lathe. That's what they're known for. They're German made and they're precise. Something like a Myford is precise, but also it comes with the added benefit that you can get parts easily. They're still made. They may be in, I believe they're Chinese owned, and some of it is made in India and some of it's made in China, I believe, but you can still get parts. There's a lot of hobbyists out there that make parts for modifications and upgrades. They have a giant cult following, as do mini lathes, but older lathes tend to have a known, and they stuck with it. So, you know, if the bearing in the head was a certain size, it didn't get changed. Whereas your mini lathe, whatever they could get cheapest that year, there's variations between them, because it was generally, especially some of the cheaper end of the scale, you might have one, the machine looks identical, but your mate down the road has a totally different size of thing on. It's just the way it is. So generally older, it's all documented, known sizes, easier to get in the current climate as well. I picked this up for £100, like I said, with a whole load of tooling. A lot of the so like your Warcos and that, they're on ridiculous wait lists. These aren't. So they were also designed to be more versatile. Things like a Myford, this hasn't got them because this is a precision lathe. It's not set up for screw cutting at all. It is literally turn, face, and then you've got obviously your drill chuck for drilling, tapping. You can put something along the lines of a tap holder in it, a die holder in the tailstock as well if you want to thread something, but it's not set up for screw cutting. But you've got things like a Myford have T-slots in the bed. They are very versatile lathes, and they were designed with versatility in mind. And in general, the main thing for me is it was there when I wanted it. I looked and saw what was around and went, that'll do for what I want. Didn't have to wait, went and got it. The tooling that came with it, got a good deal. I mean, there's like 300-400 quid worth of tooling for something I paid 100 quid, and I got a lathe chucked in if you look at it like that. That for me is the main points of what swayed me to go used, and has always swayed me to go used. Cost. Like I said, these are just the positives. The downsides to all of these are something that you have to assess for yourself. I hope that's been helpful, and if you've got anything you want to add, just pop it in the comments.